number 6 on our checklist, if you have a boat that's an inboard, outboard, or an inboard, naturally you know that that motor is a part of the vessel itself. It's probably not removable like an outboard is, and it's covered up to keep for safety reasons. And because of that cover, it can accumulate gas fumes in there, especially on your hotter days. So the law requires that that motor have an exhaust fan in it. And actually, we check that. We check that for the proper flame arrestor to make sure that the carburetor or the injection system has a proper backfire flame arrestor on it. We see that that's intact and all the hoses and things are hooked up like they're intended to be hooked up. We're going to ask actually for you to turn your exhaust fan on, your blower system as it's referred to in this state, and we want to listen to that, and we'd like to see that run for at least 4 minutes. The state law requires that that run for 4 minutes. Anytime before you ignite that engine or before you start that engine, that blower system should be on and be running for at least 4 minutes to evaporate all those fumes out of that that area around that motor before you ignite your engine. Actually, it withdraws all those fumes from that area. We're also going to check and see if the motor, if it's an inboard or if it's an outboard, inboard, outboard I mean, it has a proper muffler system on it. It is required to be muffled. And if you're in tow with someone and you only have 2 people in the vessel, or on the jet ski, you're required to have a mirror. And on jet skis, they're also required to have two mirrors if it's going to be used to tow people. The jet ski rules are that jet ski should be rated for 3 people in order to tow without mirrors, because you have to have your operator, and then you have a passenger to become your observer for that skier, and then naturally you have the skier in the water. Whoever's being towed is also considered part of your load, so the capacity plate should read that. As far as a boat goes, if you have a mirror, you do not need an observer, but without a mirror, you have to have an observer at least 8 years of age or older. Proper navigation lights. On vessels used on the water during the day, navigation lights are not required, but many times during these inspections we will check your lights to make sure they're working properly, especially if that check goes on early in the morning hours or late in the evening hours and we feel like it may be getting dark on you, or it is dark. We're going to have you turn on your bow light, which is a little green and red light up front, and plug in your all-around white light or your 360 light, which sets to the aft of the boat or the rear of the boat. Just a note there, if you're running between dusk and dark, those lights both have to be on, or all 3 if you want to, the red and green in front, consider those 2 or 1. They both have to be on, and the one in the back. When you're setting idle on the water at night after dark or in the early morning hours and you're setting still, the all-around white light has to be connected and has to be illuminated at all times. Sound making device. Each vessel must have a sound making device. That can be as simple as a whistle. For most vessels, your average vessel, your average fisherman's vessel, it can be just a whistle. As they get bigger, then you may have to go to a horn or a bell system, but for most vessels in the fishing area, jet ski area of that nature, a vessel like this one I'm standing in, it's just required that we have a whistle. If you have electric horn on it or battery operated horn, those are sufficient, or type air horn. The other thing we're going to look at is your recommended capacity plate. Each vessel somewhere, especially if it's a later model vessel, and I've seen earlier vessels also have those. We're going to look for your capacity plate, which tells you how many people should be on board and the weight of that people combined. We're going to make sure you're within the law on that. So it's whichever one comes first. The number of people, if your boat's rated for 6 people, when you get to 6 people, no matter how big or small they are, you have to stop at 6 people. If your boat's rated, also it'll give you a overall weight for those people. And if you get some larger individuals on the boat, you may not be able to put 6 people on that boat. You may have to stop at 4 or 3 to comply with the combined weight. That capacity plate's also going to give you a horsepower rating. We're going to check that horsepower against your motor. And this engine here is a 225 Mercury. And my boat should be rated for at least a 225 or larger in order to carry this motor for this vessel. we're going to look at that for you too. We're going to write down the horsepower that it's recommended and how much horsepower you do have on the vessel. And again, we're going to make sure the proper ventilation is on your vessel, especially if you're running inboards or inboard-outboard vessels. If all those points are made, and it sounds a little difficult right now, but it's not so difficult to abide by these. If all these points are made, what we do, we'd like to try to reward you by giving you a little decal sticker to show that you have passed your registration. And that is a little 2010 for now, little sticker that we give you, and we ask you to put that on the port side, the left side of your boat, right behind your registration sticker. It shows us that you've met all these points. One other point I wanted to cover in this little segment of information is boat operators and PWC operators under a new boating law. It says that boat and PWC operators 12 years of age and up to the age of 16 years of age must complete an approved boat course, which is a 6-hour required course, before operating on Oklahoma waters. There are some exemptions. You'd have to check your state regulations to see those exemptions. Anyone 16 years of age or older must possess a photo ID when operating a vessel powered by 10 horsepower motor or greater. And you can enroll in a free boat safety course offered by Oklahoma Highway Patrol, or learn more. You can go to a website called www.okboated.com. That's boated.com, and it'll tell you by counties or by dates where these courses are being held at. Another good piece of information to pick up is the Handbook of Oklahoma Boating Laws and Responsibilities, put out by Troop W, and it's packed with good information about your boat. And for instance, many people want to know the exact way the state requires you to put your OK numbers on the port and starboard side of your boat, and the location of those stickers. And as you get that manual on page 22 and 23, there's a page and a half that just explains exactly how those numbers should go in the proper way that the state would recognize those numbers.